Hello everyone and welcome back to Beatley Tones Beatles channel. How the devil are you? I hope you're doing well and keeping safe from this Omicron business. Lovely to have you here. Thanks for joining me for part 2 of the Battle of 1971, Ram versus Imagine. So we've already done the first part of the video. If you haven't seen that, there's going to be a link down in the description, or you'll be able to, at the end of this video, you'll be able to click directly onto the thumbnail. If you have seen the part 1 of this video, then you'll know the format. It's the same as all my reviews that I've done so far. We're giving each track a score out of 10, adding up the total, dividing it by the number of tracks on the album to get the average score, and then we'll see which one wins. So if you haven't seen the first part, there's a spoiler alert coming now. So I'll give you a couple of seconds to click off this and go and watch the first part. For those of you who did, you'll know that Ram scored 92 out of 110 points, giving it an average of 8.4. So we're going to now take a deep dive into the Imagine album and see how that fares against Ram. Before we do that, all the usual stuff. Please support the channel by subscribing, by clicking the button over there. If you like what we're doing, give the video a like. That would be really great, and hit the notification bell and you won't miss a thing. So the next video is going to be my review of the year. We're going to look at the best Beatles items that have come out during 2021, go through them and say which ones are the winners and which ones were the losers. So hope you'll join me for that. So the recording for Imagine started around May 1971, just after Paul's Ram album came out, and the sessions mostly took place at Tittenhurst Park, John's home in Ascot. The overdubs were done later at the record plant in New York. When the album came out, unlike Paul's, it was universally loved by the critics and the fans alike. It got to #1 in the UK, in America, in Japan, Australia, Holland. So it did very well indeed. So whereas the previous album, Plastic Ono Band, had been very minimalist, Imagine was a huge production. Phil Spector at the helm again, with John and Yoko co-producing. A whole gang of musicians on this album. Notably George Harrison, who played on 5 tracks, Nicky Hopkins on piano. We had 3 drummers, Jim Gordon, Jim Keltner and Alan White, who you probably remember from the All Things Must Pass album. Klaus Voormann again on bass. We had a couple of Badfinger people, Joey Moland and Tom Evans. We had King Curtis making a guest appearance on saxophone. And we even had Phil Spector giving a bit of backing vocals on O Yoko. One of the amazing things about John Lennon is that he was such a complex character. So many sides to the same coin. Not all of them adorable, but all of them honest as the day is long. And his music is better for that fact that he is so honest in his writing. And I can imagine that if you were buying Lennon albums in the 70s as they came out, which I wasn't, you never knew which John you were going to get. Were you going to get John the rock and roller, John the political preacher, John the peacenik, vulnerable John, angry John, John the romantic balladera? Balladera, that isn't a word. Balladera is not a word. It isn't a word, is it? Let's just say John the writer of romantic ballads, or John the nasty bastard. And the great thing about this album is that Imagine covers all those Johns. So let's get into the Imagine album. Let's have the scores up the top, and you can see a running total of how Imagine is faring against Ram as we go on. Okay, so the first track obviously is the title track, Imagine. What can I tell you about Imagine that you don't already know? Probably nothing. A simple yet so effective song with a really strong positive message where John invites us to imagine a world without territorial borders, possessions, religion and war. One of the criticisms levelled at Lennon about this song was how could a multimillionaire living in his Surrey mansion on the stockbroker belt preach to the world about having no possessions? But remember, all he's saying here is just imagine it. He's not suggesting that you give away everything you own apart from your pants. He's just saying, just imagine it. The song Imagine as a single got to #1 in the US, but it wasn't even released as a single in the UK until about 1975 when it was used to promote the Shaved Fish compilation. And of course it got to #1 here in December 1980. Overplayed, yes. Overfamiliar, yes. But it's all of those things because it's such a brilliant piece of music. So how could I possibly give it anything less than 10? So track 2, Crippled Inside. This is a great little country blues jaunt where John kind of puts on a country and western singing style, which I love. The song features George Harrison on slide guitar and Nicky Hopkins playing a fine piano solo in the middle. The nature of the lyrics says to me that lyrically this would have fitted on Plastic Ono Band, but musically it's far too upbeat for that album, so it takes its place here. But once more, John wears his heart on his sleeve as he always does and delivers an honest lyric that says, on the outside, I'm the happy clown, but on the inside, I'm in pain. Without being outstanding, this is a fun song, expertly performed, so I'm giving this 8. Track 3 is the utterly superb Jealous Guy. So this song started off life as being called Child of Nature and was mooted for the White Album, but it was thought because they had Mother Nature's Son it was too similar in title and theme, so they never bothered recording it, although there is a recording of the Isha demo included on the White Album box set that came out in 2018. The melody of Child of Nature is exactly the same as Jealous Guy, but the lyrics were changed for this song. So Jealous Guy is a piano-led ballad with Nicky Hopkins doing the honours on the piano. It's a very integral part of this beautiful ballad. There's a nice string arrangement for Phil Spector as well, which are not too overpowering, and another sort of chin on the floor, honest lyric of inadequacy from John. The song prompted an awful cover from Roxy Music after John died in 1981, which got to #1 in the UK, despite having the audacity to replace that beautiful piano with some sort of electric keyboard effort. But it's a fabulous song, one of John's very best ballads, so I can't give this any less than 10 out of 10, despite the whistling. It's on track 4, It's So Hard, that the album has its little dip. This is a straightforward rock blues song where John is again down on life and everything's a bit of a drudge. The song gives the album a bit of meat, I feel. It's the only real song that really sort of, thumps its way through, I think. John's the only guitarist on this song, so that great riff on the intro is him. The song features some great sax from King Curtis, who guests on the track. Not the sort of song you expect to have strings on, but they are here. And they play a great sort of call and response part with the guitar before and throughout the guitar solo. But it's not one of my favourite songs on the album, so It's So Hard, I'm going to give a 7. So we've arrived at the end of side 1 of the album, the final track, I Don't Want to Be a Soldier, Mama. On the first copy of this album that I bought back in 1976, this song was called I Don't Want to Be a Soldier. These days on the reissues it seems to be called I Don't Want to Be a Soldier, Mama. I think it was better as it was. I Don't Want to Be a Soldier, that's what I refer to it as. Anyway, the Wall of Sound is back and there's 6 minutes of it on this song. It's got very repetitive lyrics. This is my least favourite song on the album. But in its favour. This song is as funky as hell musically. Just listen to the bass that Klaus Voormann is playing, and there's lots of stuff going on in the background, especially with that bass and with George's slide guitar little interactions, and they sort of counteract the repetitive lyrics. A song that seems to denounce not only being a soldier, but also a sailor and a churchman and a lawyer and a failure and a thief, and so it goes on and on and on. There's only 25 different words in this song, but it does feature a great sax solo from King Curtis. But as I say, it is repetitive, and that's the second time that I've repeated that it's repetitive. Oh, that's 3 times now. Anyway, I Don't Want to Be a Soldier, 6.5 out of 10. So first track, side 2, Gimme Some Truth, fantastic song. Here we get political John, and he's angry about everything, and he's not taking any BS from anyone. Lyrically, it's probably like the best song on the album, I think. The bit about lying politicians, still very relevant today, especially if you're in the UK. Brilliant solo from George Harrison on this song, which apparently George didn't like at all, but John liked it, so it stayed on. And personally, I think it stings. But the lyrics are great. I'm sick and tired of hearing things from uptight, short-sighted, narrow-minded hypocritics. I love the fact that he says hypocritics instead of hypocrites there. He does say hypocrites late when he repeats that verse later in the song, but hypocritics is very clever, I think. I've had enough of reading things by neurotic, psychotic, pig-headed politicians. And then, you know, no short head, yellow belly, son of tricky tea. The way that he constructs these verses is fantastic. It is just a brilliant song, and I'm giving Gimme Some Truth 9 out of 10. While we're on the subject of Gimme Some Truth, I should mention that there is a documentary film called Gimme Some Truth, which is basically the making of this album. It's fantastic, and you should watch it. If you haven't seen it before, you will love it. It's brilliant. Okay, so track 2, side 2, Oh My Love, co-written with Yoko. I think this is my favourite song on the album. Here we get Romantic John. The song sort of starts off with a delicate guitar intro, beautifully played by George, and we see this actually in the Gimme Some Truth movie, and it's that intro sort of sets the tone for this most gorgeous of love songs. If I was doing my top 20 ranking of John Lennon's solo songs, this would be somewhere near the top. I love it, and I'm giving this 10 out of 10. So we've arrived at How Do You Sleep, and so much has been said about this song. I'll try and keep this brief, but I will probably waffle on for quite a while. As everyone knows, this was written about Paul in reaction to references on Ram, particularly Too Many People. And if there's a lesson to be learned here, is that if you give it to John, you're going to get it back with knobs on. This was the postcard that was included with the Imagine album, a mock-up of the Ram cover. If you put them together, it's a bit like Spot the Difference. The public feud between John and Paul really started in December 1970, where Paul and Linda took out a full-page ad in the UK music papers, dressed up as clowns, but wrapped in sheets to sort of mock the baggism of John and Yoko. That was their sort of Merry Christmas ad. And How Do You Sleep, I guess, is the sort of the sandwich in the middle of that and Too Many People. And Paul thought that he'd put an end to it by writing the song Dear Friend, which ended up on Wildlife. But there would be more trouble when they started writing, or Paul did an interview in Melody Maker, and John wrote a letter to Melody Maker and criticised the things that he said. Then Paul wrote another letter, and these letters went backwards and forwards for a few weeks, and they were letters to each other, but they were meant for publication. As far as the song goes, it's a really fantastic groove, and that I think got missed because of the lyrics in the song got all the attention. The lyrics I'm talking about really are the lines, "Those freaks was right when they said you were dead. The one mistake you made was in your head. And the only thing you did was yesterday. And since you've gone, you're just another day." Alluding to Paul's song, "Another Day." Originally, that lyric allegedly was, "The only thing you did was yesterday, and you probably pinched that bitch anyway," alluding to, if you remember when Paul wrote "Yesterday," he held on to it for quite a while before he recorded it because he couldn't believe that somebody else hadn't written that fantastic melody. To add insult to injury, George Harrison plays on this track, and not only does he play on it, but he delivers one of probably his best solos of his career. Ringo also popped into the studio while they were recording this, and although he doesn't play on it, I think if it had been all three of them on it, that would have been the straw that would have broke the camel's back for Paul, I think. But Ringo did not like this song at all, and he warned John about. He told him not to put it out, and he said, "That's enough, John." Despite all this, what gets missed about this song is that it's a really great song, which is a real shame because I think that that does get missed. It's got that fantastic hard guitar riff in it, which is it's vicious and nasty, and it absolutely fits the song perfectly. And the song is really funky. However, I'm not going to overlook it because I love it, and I love both the song and I love the history. There's this macabre side of me that likes the fact that this feud took place in public and we got to know about it when we shouldn't really have. And I think it's that same macabre thing in me that just really likes the Paul is dead story as well. So it's that kind of thing for me. But I do think this song, "How Do You Sleep," is one of John's greatest solo tracks. So "How Do You Sleep" for me gets 10 out of 10. So on to the penultimate track, "How." Now this is John at his most vulnerable. Another beautiful ballad. It's so stark, it's so dark. It sends shivers down my spine. His voice is amazing on this song. This song, I think, in its original form, would have fitted the narrative of Plastic Ono Band, but not with the strings. And the strings do add a bit of drama and some sweetness to the song to counterbalance that darkness. But this is yet another first-class ballad, another fantastic song. And I actually think that this side of an album is probably John's best side of any album. There's 5 really great tracks on side 2 of Imagine. So "How" it's just a great song. I'm giving it 10. I'm giving it 10. So we've arrived at the final track on the album, "Oh Yoko." How the score's doing? It's still in the balance. It's all on this last song. So "Oh Yoko," an infectious, bouncy pop song with John playing harmonica on a recording for the first time since Rocky Raccoon. This song's got a massive hook, and it could have been a single. EMI wanted to put it out as a single, but John refused. But the fact that it is this sort of bouncy pop song, it does counteract some of the darkness on the rest of the album, and it means that this album goes out on a high, which is always a great thing. So for "Oh Yoko," I'm going to give an 8, which means that Imagine's final score is 88.5. There's 10 tracks on the album, so that makes it an average of 8.85, which means that Imagine is the better album by a whisker. But of course, that is only my opinion, and my opinion doesn't matter. What doesn't matter is your opinion. So you tell me down in the comments which album you think was better, and if you want to tell me why, that'd be even better. Always love to hear what you guys think. That's what this channel's about, so do tell me. So in summary, I think that Ram is a fantastic album. I do love it, and I think that what Ram brings to the table is a lot of fun. I think that Imagine is a little bit short on fun, but I think that there are more really great tracks on Imagine than there are on Ram, but there's a lot of very good tracks, but not amazing tracks on Ram. Well, we'll say, if you haven't had enough of Ram and Imagine and you want to take a deeper dive into these two albums, there are firstly the Paul McCartney Archive Collection, the Ram Super Deluxe box set or whatever it's called, which is fantastic. You get loads of great stuff with this box set, really interesting book and stuff, and there's one for Imagine as well. Super Deluxe box set. I can't remember. I think it's four CDs, two Blu-rays. I will be reviewing both of these at some stage, but I can thoroughly recommend both of them for some extra deeper listening pleasure. What I think that Paul has achieved with Ram is that he's taken a bunch of abstract songs and made them flow like a proper album should, and that's not easy to do, because when you look at these songs here, and they're very disconnected. None of them are alike, but it still flows like a proper album. And I think John's album does as well, but I think it's been much harder for Paul to achieve it with his album, because John's songs seem a little bit more connected to one another, whereas Paul's are completely abstract and disconnected. And what I kind of mean by flow like a proper album should is, I mean that there's continuity, and if you take, say you were to make a mixtape. Who makes mixtapes anymore? No one makes mixtape. What's the word? Playlist. If you were to make a playlist of your greatest Paul McCartney songs, say 20 tracks or something, probably half the tracks on Ram wouldn't make it. You probably wouldn't have Three Legs in there. You probably wouldn't have a Home, Heart of the Country. But within the context of the album, they sound great. And that's kind of what I mean by the album flows. In other words, the whole is greater than the sum of the individual parts. That's what I think I mean. So that's about it for this video. In my battle of 1971, Imagine comes out on top. Who wins in your battle of 1971? Tell me down in the comments. Finally, if you're seeing this channel for the first time, please support me by subscribing to the channel, and give us a like and hit the notification bell, and you won't miss a thing. Thank you for joining me, and I will see you on the next video, which is going to be my review of 2021. I'll see you then.